It's time for Gun and Saddle, a United Country M. Edwards Realty and Auction weekly broadcast where we talk about anything and everything related to our God-fearing country lifestyles and the blood, sweat, and tears that it takes to make them possible. Join Monty Edwards and Carrie Hanlon as they take a deeper look at the land we all love and the people that call it home. This is Gun and Saddle.
All right, so we're going to get right into it today. We're pleased to have with us today Jason Gandy. Jason's with us from Capital Farm Credit. And Jason, I appreciate you coming on. We're a little bit slow getting started today because we were, as we always are, battling with technology. We were trying to get everything working, but we finally did get this up and running. I hope we've got you guys out there listening. Jason, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
And we've got Carrie and Maddie in here with us. So I just wanted to see if we could get you in here today. This has been I think it'd be an understatement to say the last year and a half has been some challenging times and changing times in the real estate business. To say that this hasn't been a period of change and flux in real estate would be an understatement. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely.
And we've watched and we heard kind of rustlings in the wind a year ago, 2 years ago about these interest rate hikes that were coming and how some of these things could probably slow down this juggernaut real estate business that was going on at the time, because things have really been at an unprecedented pace moving around since COVID kind of slowed down. And, but we did begin to see over the last year the pressure of interest rates and inflation and some things like that in the economy. And I just like to ask you, what have you guys seen on y'all's end with lending? I mean, are guys still coming in and buying quite a bit of land overall through y'all's market?
It's absolutely made an impact on our business. I would say the other areas of the state are a little harder hit than our area. Typically, farmers continue to farm no matter what the economy's seeing or doing. Obviously, the interest rate pressure adds another layer of difficulty to these purchases. But when we see an ag tract pop up, we always have several guys that are interested in wanting to buy. It has slowed our business in the other areas of the state. But as far as overall, we were still seeing growth. It's just not what it was, in the year before that, where we had record numbers across the state. That was an exciting time to be in lending with the low rates and the pretty favorable terms for all these both parties concerned. I mean, it was a good time for buyers and sellers, and I'm hoping we get there again. I think it's going to be a little bit before we turn the corner and get back to some kind of normal.
Well, I like walking in high cotton, but you always know when you are that you better enjoy it while it lasts, huh? Because
makes it a bit a little sweeter.
Downs, but we didn't really get a chance to do a formal introduction of you when you came on, but you tell everybody out there a little bit about yourself and kind of where you're located in Lubbock and what your position is with Capital Farm Credit.
Okay, yeah, I'd be glad to. I'm born and raised here on the South Plains. Great great grandfathers were all cotton producers. Grew up here, went to Tech. Been with Capital Farm Credit. I'm working on my 25th year. So started right out of college and been here ever since. I think being from here and having a production ag background makes me a little more. I can see both sides of every transaction a little bit cleaner. Have a real love for production agriculture, and pretty much dedicated my career to that. Love the personal relationship I have with my customers. Love being part of a transaction that's a good deal for both ends. It's always a pretty cool thing to be a part of when somebody buys a farm, buys a ranch, maybe fulfill the lifelong dream to actually own land. And we get to do that every day. It's a great place to work. Great job to have.
Well, and I think you touched on some high points here, but one of our deals with Gun and Saddles, we talk about the land we love and the people that live there. And, you're an epitome kind of guy that's in the industry. A lot of our people in our office are the same way. I mean, we've grown up here, we live here, we know the area. It's kind of like what you said earlier. I was thinking about what you said when you said we haven't had as much impact in this swing in the market that we've seen recently, but it's also because we know that typically we don't see those other impacts when things just run out of control either. And, in some ways, I guess that stability that we can appreciate sometimes when we're, when we're wanting to be up there where everybody else is and you see that things start to change, you're kind of glad that you don't jump back and forth quite so much in that part of the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but one of the things that we wanted to talk about today, because we've been trying to, you get creative when you face pressure and challenges. Like you said, when it's easy and everything just falls into place, it makes it look like anybody can do this. But when you're out trying to like say, for instance, let's draw a hypothetical. Farm comes up for sale next to me that is a once in 20-year opportunity, and it doesn't matter as much about that one that the interest rates are high or that there's inflation, because I need to buy that farm in my business plan and not let it get out of sight or miss it. And if I miss it, I may not have the opportunity to buy it again in my lifetime. So I know you guys have been working on some different products out there, and I thought I'd give you a chance to talk about that a little bit. One that I know you and I talked about a little the other day was this convertible loan strategy that y'all have. Could you explain that a little bit to everyone?
Yeah, that's you hit on it perfect. Every farmer has got a story of a farm they should have bought. Mm-hmm. One that got away, but I've never had one guy in 25 years come back and say I shouldn't have bought that farm. It's land is the best investment there is. I know I'm biased. I'm in the industry and I've grown up here, but they're not making any more. So when it comes down to it, we just try to factor everything in to the deal to see a really good benefit and how it's the benefit, pros and cons of purchasing a property. I've really tried to, on one hand, rates are high. On the other hand, when you really look at it, especially an improved property, there's tax benefits, depreciation, some things that'll help you on that end that really can kind of level it out when you come to talking about an interest rate hike. And when, like you mentioned earlier, we have some different products we can do. A lot of what we're doing lately have been shorter term fixed rates. We have a really neat product where we can come back in and do a reprice of that loan when rates come back down, and they will. It's not like refinancing a typical house where you've got to have, new appraisal, new title work, things like that. We watch our portfolio. We try to look out for our customers, and when it's a favorable interest rate environment, and it's beneficial. We look at doing a reprice, and we're unique where we'll contact our customers and visit with them and say, this might be a good idea, a good time to look at it. Here's where the rates are. Here's what the difference would be. Here's what the cost is. And when the juice is worth the squeeze, it's worth doing. And I've heard multiple times when we contact our customers to talk about this, how unique that is, and appreciative they are when the banker actually calls them to talk about lowering their rate. But then the rates will be down again. I mean, I've seen it over my career. They've been up, they've been down. Now, will we get back down to the COVID levels? I don't know, but it's going to be better again. And when it does, I hope we can get our people to take advantage of it and make it a better deal for them.
When as you were talking, thinking about that farm that got away, or even when you made that comment that you really hadn't heard people come in and say, "Oh, I wish I wouldn't have bought this farm," but you hear it all the time. Gosh, I wish I had bought that farm, And I think we are living in a unique time because we heard our granddads tell us they're not making any more of this. It's a great investment, and I think maybe we heard it and we believed it, but I think now we're actually seeing that played out. One of the things that we talk about a lot is that we have some of the most affordable land in this part of the world still, even though we've seen increases over the last several years. And I know my granddad would probably faint if he saw what some of this land's selling for now, but at the same time, you get to looking around, and we are bringing in outside buyers sometimes on some of this land because they're looking for a place to invest. And this still is one of the only places in the country where you can try to pencil things out. And you can't always pay completely for a farm, but you can still have a process or a plan to try to have a plan to pay for it. And, especially if you're a guy that already owns land and you understand that your asset value is increasing with this increasing price. Because that's one thing I think people miss sometimes if they already own land. When that farm down the road sells and it does bring a good price, that actually help them with their balance sheet. So it's a good time to own land for sure. And
absolutely.
So as far as these products that you're talking about, I know one of the other things kind of highlighting dealing with the way that you guys do your appraisals, because you kind of have a strategy where you guys have in-house appraisers for your land. I know from a standpoint dealing with buyers that sometimes they don't understand how important that is, but for other people that have been in the industry, or you're dealing with banks that maybe sometimes don't do land all the time and they're having to get appraisals. There's some really good independent appraisers out there, don't get me wrong.
Absolutely.
But they are extremely busy. So one thing that's nice, I know when we do loans with Farm Credit, is that you can get your appraisals done because y'all have in-house appraisers most of the time. Could you speak about that a little bit?
It's absolutely a huge competitive advantage having those guys on staff. And like you hit on, we have great relationships with our area appraisers. We share sales. We share work. And there are absolute times where, a trust or an estate needs to be valued. And we send that business to those appraisers. But for a purchase money deal, when a deal comes across and they're like, we got to get this done in 2 to 3 weeks. And you're like, we can do it. We got our guys on staff. We can get the title work done. We can absolutely deliver. And when you can come through and not just be spinning your wheels, when you can actually deliver on that, you got guys on staff that can turn one and get it back in a week to 10 days. That's you talk about repeat business. When you come through for a customer and they remember that, the next deal they do, they're absolutely coming back. So we've got a good group of appraisers that, different values. A more complicated deal does take a little more time, but a simple land purchase that's easy and it works slick and it works quick, and it sets us apart from other commercial banks.
Another thing I wanted to touch on, and we haven't seen as many of these in these last couple of years because it truly has been a seller's market in land and in residential and all lines of real estate. But we were working quite a few of these USDA-backed loans for a while, but I've also had the privilege of working with your bank on some loans where we did the combos where y'all might loan the brunt of the money, but then they can do an FSA-backed loan on down payment for young farmers and some things like that. Is that something that you're still seeing a little bit of on your side?
Yes, sir. In fact, I think we just closed another one out of or going book or ready to book in Level Land, where it came in right under the, they were talking about shutting down the funding for a little bit, shut down the government, and they got it approved quickly to try to get under that wire. FSA is really good to deal with. They have really cheap rates for these young farmers to get started. You pretty much have to be a full-time farmer to qualify, right. But they're good to work with. And once you get through over the paperwork hurdle, it's worth it if it's helping you get into a place.
Well, I know that one of the challenges we have if we're working a straight USDA loan is that, when we're not doing that tandem product we're talking about, is that we don't know exactly how the appraisal part will work and who will be assigned to the appraisals. But that's one of the advantages I've seen, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but if you're doing it this other way, you actually get to they'll let you use your appraisers.
Absolutely.
That package loan, is that correct?
Yes, sir. We're a preferred lender with FSA, so they trust our processes, and as long as we give them a copy of the appraisal and it's signed off on it, it's a done deal.
Well, those are just some high points and things I wanted to mention to some of the folks that might watch this podcast because, I think that there, as you said, there's competition in the market and that's a good thing. And there's different choices in lending. But I do know, having been in this business since 2003, that when I hear somebody say that they're thinking about getting their lending through Capital Farm Credit, that's a good thing. That when you talk to your sellers and they ask who are they doing their financing with, because you guys do a good job. And generally the consensus among most sellers when they get offers and they know that's where their financing is coming from, that definitely goes over in the win column as far as marks for the deal when you're trying to evaluate an offer. So I know I've got Carrie on here, and Carrie does a lot in residential, and I wanted to touch for just a second on the fact that you guys do offer secondary market loans in residential. Do y'all have any limitations in that, being a farm credit bank?
It works better if it's a rural property. We can do deals in smaller towns, and now we do have a product where if it is in the city limits, we have a place to go with it on our secondary market. We've built our capacity up. We've hired a really, really good guy locally. It's a go-getter that can get deals done quick. So I'm really proud of what we've got now, and we've been working to really make it competitive in the market.
Well, I'd ask Carrie, right now, isn't the lending deal becoming a bigger deal?
It is.
And
every time if I ever have one that I question whether it would go, if it could go farm or would we have to stay residential, I always call one of the local guys and ask because I've had such great success working with Capital Farm Credit. It's been good to work because they get us from start to finish, and I know that I can trust that it's going to close.
Well, I know Jason and I have talked about this probably ad nauseum, but we're in this ecosystem here in the farm and ranch and the real estate business where there's a group of realtors that kind of work in that area, and there's a group of banks that kind of work in that area, and I know that we're not the only ones that send loans to Capital Farm Credit, and they know that we don't have every one of our loans coming to them, but it's a really cool thing, I think, this rural real estate market, because it is one of the last places where business is still not completely done on a handshake, but I think done in more traditional means, but at the same time has all the capabilities and advantages that you can get going to some of these lenders, because we'll have guys come in from out of the area sometimes, and they're using all kinds of different lending, and it's been amazing over the years how I've seen guys when they had their first dealing with you guys, and even some of the other local guys, they realize something. Right here in this part of the world, we've got one of the most competitive lending areas, I believe, in mortgages and land lending that there is, and you guys are right up there at the top of that, Jason. So
It always surprises me when you deal with somebody from a different part of the state, especially that comes into our area and buys a place that, they're actually dealing with a person, a real living person that they're going to have a relationship with. And, I've had deals where they call a couple of years later, get a roof not, hailed out or need to do something on their loan. And we remember their deal, and they don't expect that. They're not just another, number. They're a real life person. Some of these mega banks, they're notorious for treating you just like you're a loss leader. It's a one-time transaction. We pride ourselves in a personal relationship with our customers, and a lot of our competitors here in the area do the same. They are. It's different. I love being from this part of the country because that's still a big part of how we do our day-to-day business.
It reminds me of something that my granddad told me, because my roots are in the business side of this. I started out in crop insurance and in property and casualty with my granddad in a family business, and I remember right when we first started that one of the things that he told me is he said, "Look, I didn't make a living and make a business out of running other people down." He said, "If somebody comes in and they're upset about something that's going on with a competitor and they're wanting to throw a little mud at them," he said, "you can't stop them from doing that, but you don't take part in it," because he said, the way we're going to take care of people around here is we're going to do a good job. And I think that's a culture thing that's in this part of the country, and it's definitely the way you guys operate. And it's something like I was trying to touch on a while ago, and I was just talking about our little ecosystem we have here. So
it is one of our competitors actually calls it the rules. You know, we see each other around. We're friends. We bounce things off of each other. We really don't try to go after each other's customers. It's I don't think it works that way in other parts there at the state.
No,
I think it's a
unfortunately,
lot more cutthroat. But we're all in the same boat, pulled in the same direction.
Well, I can't tell you how we appreciate you coming on. And you know, the thing about it is if anybody is needing anything with you guys, I know that you'd be a great point of contact there at the Lubbock office. But you guys have I know we've got Graham over here in Littlefield and Chase at Muleshoe, and then you've got guys in all these little local offices in Level Land. And of course, you got Sean and some of the guys there in Lubbock as well. I'm working a deal with Sean right now. But I just really do appreciate the fact that, like, when we talk about this, everybody's on a first name basis. So,
and we are the largest ag lender in Texas. You know, Dalhart to Del Rio, El Paso to El Campo. We cover it all, so we can help you wherever, whenever.
Well, we appreciate you coming on, Jason. I know your time's valuable, and we really do appreciate having you here today.
Thanks. Appreciate y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See ya.
Yeah, I really do appreciate the fact that we got him on. I know we've been trying for a couple of weeks to make that work. He's a busy guy, and he gave us some time there to meet. And I'll tell you that if you need something in that regard and you want to get their contact information, you know, they're easy to find. You can look them up online, but you can also just give us a call and we'll help you get in contact with them. Something that we want to do on Gun and Saddle over the next year, and I want to make this something kind of obvious. About once a month, we want to bring on a lender like this. And we want to bring them on and we want to interview them and talk to them, give them a chance to kind of let you know we've got a really neat little environment here in this part of the world with some guys. I mean, and what I told Jason a while ago, I've told people this a lot when they come in and they're not from here. You can go get your lending anywhere, but you're not going to do any better.
Right.
Than you're going to do right here in our little 806. And I know they're bigger than 806, but for us in this area, we're really fortunate. So I know Carrie, dealing in the residential's got some other folks in some of the residential lines that are like that as well.
And it's nice to know. It's nice to be on a first name basis. It's nice to know when I send an email they know who I am. And seems like in our little area, I know that there's lenders out online. You can go get approved, just click in some information and you're approved. But it's really nice. And when I have people moving in from out of area, I always try to get them to use like a local person, just because I think, and we have some, like you said, here in the 806, we've got some really good lenders on the rural side and, in town. We've got some really, really good lenders.
The light bulb moment for me always with them is when they realize sometimes they got me a better deal. Because I do think there's this idea that I'm going to get a better deal on the internet.
Absolutely.
And that can be the case as far as price sometimes. But you know as well as I do when you're out on a property that's 70 miles from Lubbock and it's Laz Buddy, Texas, and this appraiser, they start looking for appraisers. There's not an overwhelming list of people that have comps or want to come out and work in appraisal.
Yeah, it's hard to get
75 miles away. And, they can show you those maps all day long about how they cover the entire country. But that's where it really shows up to me is when it comes time to, look, we know since Dodd-Frank, they've got that buttoned up. Banks don't necessarily get, like when you get into residential, they don't get to pick appraisers. But they have, what would you say, a stable of appraisers that are approved to do business with them if they're working in a region that are versed in that area. So that's what you got to think about if you're using an outside lender. And I've had some outside lenders, to their credit, that have come in and they've done okay, but that's not always the case. Right. And so
I think it's the confidence. We have confidence in. We've used them. We know who they are. We kind of know where they come from. Some of them we get close enough to where we know lots about them. Yeah. You just develop that confidence.
Right. And you just want your client to be able to make an informed decision.
Sure.
And I feel like when they're coming from the outside, they don't have anybody else to point them towards the local folks to give them names and numbers to call. Yeah. And so I think that's something that we really try to offer to our clients is just, hey, we can help put you in contact with people if you need a lender.
That's right.
So, as we get ready to go into this next segment, I would encourage any of y'all, if you guys are thinking about selling your home or thinking about selling land right now, like Jason said, interest rates will come down, but there is a lot of uncertainty about when. And there's also a little bit of uncertainty about, are they going to go up before they go down? And I will say right now that one thing that is still a good thing, and you heard that from what Jason said, is we really haven't seen big price reductions yet. Now, we've seen some flattening, and we've also seen some areas where people were maybe reaching for the stars a little, and they've come back to reality. But for the most part, we have not seen what I would see any type of a market fall or a market collapse in our local markets. And so if you are going to sell in the next year, 6 months to a year, or you're going to sell a house in the next 6 months to a year, if you were to ask me today, and I get asked this a lot, should I do it now or wait? I don't see a lot of things saying that there's a big, strong reason to wait.
Right.
Because I would say there's always a possibility that something could happen in the next 3 months. But with us going into an election cycle and us having a lot of things going on with fuel prices and inflation, I would venture to say that if there's a tendency to think, I think things could start to slow down before they speed back up. Would you agree with that?
Mm-hmm.
And I would also say this, if you're in a position and you're selling something right now, or if you're in a position to get a deal done, I would get it done. I don't think it's a time to be waiting, I guess is the point I would try to make. So,
gosh, and the word I try to use now too in our market is patience, because we all got so accustomed to putting our, whatever property out there, and then boom, we had contracts, multiple contracts.
Totally different part of
now,
that.
Now we have slowed down, and so.
And we're getting, like I've talked about a lot in our office, we're getting back to more of our regular cycle.
Right.
I mean, we didn't used to think a whole lot in these rural communities. If we put a house in the market, it took a couple, 3 months to sell it. That wasn't unusual because you have a fairly small pool of buyers, and you've got to find that buyer. And if you're going to try to get a good price, I mean, it takes a little time.
Sure.
I think it's a time for real estate to where if you're a real estate agent or a real estate broker that's made a habit of really taking that on as a commitment to try to help them get a property sold, these are the times where you're going to shine, because you're going to be out there, you're going to be working for your client. We do lots of things that it worked throughout the time when it was really good, but quite honestly, there was a lot of things that worked when it was really good that won't work right now.
Right.
Would you agree with that?
I do.
Yeah. Well, we've got a really cool little interview that I did the other day. It's just to let you know about an event that's coming up this week. This weekend, the Sudan Education Foundation is going to have their dinner and auction, and they're actually having it over at Muleshoe this week. And I was fortunate enough to get to sit down with Melanie Harper. I believe she's the president of that organization now, and we had a little interview the other day, and she told me kind of what they had planned and how they were using that money and what they were doing in the community. So we're going to go to that now, and then we'll be back when that's over to have our little round of trivia like we always do. And we look forward to seeing you here in just a little bit. Okay, guys, I'm here today. I've got a really exciting interview. We've got some information that we're going to have for the people in the communities. We've got an upcoming event that's coming up, and I've got Melanie Harper here to talk to me today about it. Melanie, you're the president, correct, of the Sudan Education Foundation?
Yes, I am.
Well, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Tell us a little bit about the event that we have coming up. I guess it'll be, what's the date on that event?
October 7th, we are hosting the Sudan Education Foundation Dinner and Fundraiser. We are having a silent auction, a live auction, and performance by the Penny Lawrence Band. And it'll be held at the Desert Rose Event Center in Muleshoe, Texas.
Okay, so one of the things that I know is new this year that's kind of a new little twist is you are having this thing off-site. Y'all had it in the past at the school, is that correct?
Yes, our board is a little bit smaller than we've been in the past, and it takes a whole lot of hands to make it happen here at the school.
Yes.
Because we are doing all of the dinner prep and serving and all the moving pieces.
Well, it's exciting too because I know you're having it over in a venue that's used quite a bit for a lot of different functions. So
yes, they've had fabulous events there. We've enjoyed attending things in the past.
Well, and one of the neat twists this year too, instead of the speaker you mentioned, y'all are going to have the Penny Lawrence Band, and have a dance. Is that correct?
Yes, we are. So we will have a dance following the steak dinner, and The auction will be going on throughout, the silent auction will, and she'll be performing, so we'll get to enjoy that.
So how long does an event like this generally last from start to finish if people are planning on coming?
We'll open up our doors at 6:30 and we will serve dinner at 7. The band will go on about 8:15 and she will end her performance at 10:15 and it'll be concluded then.
Okay. So one of the things we were talking about as we were preparing to go on, you were telling me that one of the things that I guess is exciting is y'all have just a few tickets left.
Yes, our seats are limited at this venue, so there are only 21 tickets available as of this moment. So they're selling out quickly. If you do not get a ticket, you can still support the Education Foundation by getting online and participating in our online auction items.
Now I know one of the things you mentioned about the online auction is that you're going to have these basically silent auction items that people can come online and bid. And then also the night of the live auction, did you say y'all will have one item that will be kind of a hybrid type item that's going to be bid on as well?
We haven't decided which one it'll be, but we'll have one item that will be hybrid. The live auction can also take in online bidders at the moment of the auction.
Oh, that'll be cool. So are y'all going to be streaming the auction online, or is that something that people can watch online?
You'll see all the bids come through. You won't see a video of the actual auction.
Yeah, and I'm familiar with that. We do that a lot with the way we do our online bidding portal, so that makes total sense. So date and time, we've covered that. You mentioned the fact that you have tickets now, but this is a pre-recorded interview, so there's a good chance, I hope for you guys, by the time we run this on Wednesday, that you guys may be out of tickets.
Hopefully we are sold out, which is what would be wonderful.
Well, take just a minute and tell us, just so for people that are listening that don't know, what it is that the Education Foundation actually does to kind of support the education projects in the school and all of that.
Well, I've got a few notes here. One of our main things that we are supporting in Sudan ISD is the dual credit reimbursement program. As students sign up to take courses through South Plains College, after they have completed the course and passed, we are reimbursing their tuition. So as they're leaving Sudan High School, they are leaving with free college courses if they've passed them. And so far, from fall 2019 through spring 2023, we have supported 140 students. We have paid for 228 courses, which totaled $29,520. So what you're supporting is our students getting into the workforce with a leg up before they get there. They're leaving our community with college hours in their pocket, ready to go on to the next step. So far, we've received $18,500 in grants from Xcel Energy from 2019 through 2022. And that also helps pay for our dual credit reimbursement program. And we hope to continue this partnership with Xcel Energy in the future. Right now, and the other portion of what we're supporting are grants for our teachers and staff in the school district. So we are filling the gaps for innovative learning and technology for our students. So in the last 5 years, we have total supported $116,000 in grants for the students and teachers. So this last year, we had support the grants for Generation Genius Science Kits for the science program, athletic character education for the athletic program. So it's not just one program or another. We're very diverse in what we're supporting in the school district. And then we also support the district internet filter and curriculum resources to improve that for our students, because it's important to make sure that they're only getting what they need. Over the past years, we've supported 3D printers, drone programs, microbiology lab equipment, digital microscopes, activity room equipment that integrates technology into the movement of our children and improves the content of what they're receiving doing their physical education. So we're getting amazing programs in Sudan that are making the education of our students different than what they would normally receive.
It's interesting hearing you talk about it too, because we've actually had some of the benefit of that over the last few years. I've had a couple of kids that interned for me that went through your drone program that actually were able to come out. Of course, we use drones in a lot of our video production. We've also had a couple of students, or one particular student that interned with us the last couple of years that had worked and done some things in some of the other programs you're talking about that really helped. So some special skills that they're acquiring that maybe don't just lend just to 4-year education, university type education stuff, which I think today's important because there's different tracks people can get on. And I think that's kind of one of the things that people are looking for now is they're wanting to find a way to have a broad approach where you're not just focused in going one specific direction.
Yes, we're making our students much more marketable as they're leaving Sudan ISD.
Right.
We're having a very diverse education, and we're filling in the gaps so that they can have more opportunities to expand those opportunities.
Well, listen, it sounds like it's going to be a great evening, and it sounds like you guys are doing some really good things with these funds that you're raising, and we appreciate you taking the time to come in and tell us a little bit more about it. If you have any questions, we'll try to get some link information to link you out. So in our descriptions on our post, you'll be able to go to your websites where you're selling tickets, where the auction item type things are. We'll get that posted for you guys.
Yes.
And we'll do all that. If you have any other questions, you can direct them to us through our comments at gunandsaddle.com, and we'll relay that information over to these guys. Thanks again for being a part of this.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Thanks, Melanie.
Well, that was a really interesting interview. I was actually on the Education Foundation for a few years when they were first getting started, and I'm looking at the trivia question.
I can't see that far. You're saying.
Carrie and me are handicapped on the cheek because we can't see far enough to cheat. But Maddie's got those young eyes.
No, I don't. I'm actually.
Anyway, really do appreciate Melanie taking the time to come down here. And, another thing, I just always like to touch on these things that just remind me of where we're from and how cool it is to live where we live. She came in here the other day. She had her kids with her. She was like, I hope that doesn't mess anything up. I said, do you know how many kids run around this place on a daily basis? Because we usually have Finn running up and down these halls too. And I can think back to the day when this was the insurance office and it was Mitch and Maddie, and then before that it was Guthrie. And
That's a neat thing about in our little small areas. I worked for Atmos Energy for years, and when I went to work, Kennedy was 2. And she turned our little back room into her schoolroom, and she would go back into the vault and she'd set it up as school. But, all those years, she grew so close to, customers and all the guys we worked with. And still to this day, that's some of her favorite memories are being at work with Mom.
Exactly. And, that is a great place for kids to kind of break through because they don't meet a stranger.
No, absolutely not. At Carrie's office, he works out at the Farm Service Agency, and there's a picture up on the wall from when Cambry wanted her first car. And so the ladies up front made us a picture and put it up on the wall and said, "This is what Cambry wants for Christmas, Dad." And it's still up there. And she's been graduated now for, a few years. So and that's good for kids.
Well, and that right there is why you got parent organizations like over here in Sudan. And I know y'all, one thing I want to get those guys on sometime over at Littlefield that you are involved with every year as far as supporting is when they have the cancer drive with the cakes.
Sure. Our cake auction, that'll be coming up probably into the football season. I'm not sure when that is. I'll have to double check. But yeah, we have the cake auction coming, and that's a really neat deal. Littlefield does a lot over there for the Cancer Foundation, and they do pink strip sales. We'll all the kids will go around and they have a competition between classes, and then we do the cake auction. So lots of good things going on.
I'm gonna have to get Kennedy to auctioneer for us. I saw she got the auctioneer.
She can auctioneer. Watermelon.
Yes,
she's got it.
Well, now comes the time. Well, actually, I nearly forgot.
Oh gosh,
we've got to have our segment that is things that make you think.
This is new for me.
Okay, so we were talking about this week. I actually was talking with Brandy. I've got a question for you, something I want to make you think about. Now, this is kind of water under the bridge. We're not going to be able to go back and change this, but tell me this. Let's go back in time to a point in time. Carrie and I will remember this, Maddie. You're just going to remember hearing about it. When you used to pull up and get gas, and they washed your windshield and checked your oil. It's called full-service gas station. That used to be the norm, correct? Now, something happened when we were growing up. For one thing, gas got really high because we were living in a time real similar to what we're living in right now, where we had mondo inflation in the late 70s, early 80s.
But gas was over $1.
Yeah, back then gas got over. But even more than that, they were running out of gas in places.
Right.
And stuff. But after that, the prices came up considerably from what people were used to paying for gas back in the 60s and early 70s. There began to be some competition over trying to get people to pull into gas stations, and people introduced what they called self-service pumps. And this was the beginning of something that has changed the whole world. But there was a difference then, and I got to thinking about this the other day. Just want you to think about this. What happened since then? Because why did your parents go to the self-service pumps? It was simple.
To self-service? Just to save money.
Yeah, it was cheaper. Mm-hmm. We were offered a discount for trying to decide, was the service aspect of what was going on there worth it.
Right.
People overwhelmingly chose over time that it wasn't. You know, and I mean, there was a few self-service stations, and there probably are still a few out there. I don't know of them anymore, but there were some that still hung around. But my point was, there was an economic reason to start going to self-service. I want you to think about this. What's wrong with us today? Why would I walk into a place that has a perfectly capable person that's being paid to sit there and take my order, and instead of me having to go and manually put it in when I'm getting and paying the same price for the order? With the exception of them maybe throwing me a discount or two if I use an app.
Right.
What is it that's changed in us that we prefer self-service over real service?
I can't even speak on it because I don't. I love this.
Well, I'm one of those hardheads. I'm going to go to Walmart. I don't go in Walmart very often, but when I go in Walmart, I'm going to go through that full service line as long as there is one. Mm-hmm. The reason I'm going to do that is because...
Good luck, because those are getting fewer.
I know. And the reason they are is because everybody will go through the self-service ones. What they did when they first put them, if you remember, they put one or two. Mm-hmm. But they wanted to see if people would use them. Mm-hmm. I have a theory and something to think about, but I think part of it is our impatience. Because I don't like to stand in line. I can walk in McDonald's. If I don't want to stand in line, I can go right over to the kiosk and put my order in, and I don't have to stand behind those three people that are in front of me. Yeah. There is a motivation that people have dialed into. But I do want you to think about this. Did you know here just a few months ago, and I think this is correct, McDonald's put their first fully automated store out there. No people. It is totally run with machines. You walk in, place your own order, your food comes out, it's in a box, and there's your food.
Wow, I didn't know.
Maybe that ice cream machine will actually work. That's the only thing I'm I'm sorry. Every time I go.
A picture of things, I think that was a really good point. It's kind of mean. But here's my point. We're living in a world right now where there is this desire to have things at our fingertips. But what about the people that flip the burgers? You know, forever we always heard that that's kind of where you cut your teeth. You go out and get a job, your first job, you go out and get an entry-level job. What if there are no entry-level jobs?
You know what I saw the other day? This is crazy too. At Walmart, you know, there used to be people that went around and cleaned the floors, which was a job for a person. Mm-hmm. And the little thing that cleans the floor is automated like a robot now.
Oh, wow.
And when it's cleaning the floor, and when it's like a Roomba mopper, but it's big, and it'll stop when it sees you coming, and go when you walk by. It's the craziest thing. I mean,
and I'm not trying to have this indictment of technology because I know some of those, but I guess the question is, are we going to keep things going so people have things to do? Because do I see value in people?
Scary.
Well, because we work in a profession, I think, where there still is this, right now, there's this value that you see in somebody being, just like we had Jason on earlier when we interviewed him, and we were talking about this very thing. What makes it different out in this part of the world where we live? people.
Right.
You know, if you interview most people that live here and they tell you, if you find the people that say they love living here and you ask them, what is the reason you love living here? One of the top answers is the people.
Right.
And it's the relationships. And what I would get at is, I enjoy it. I'm one of those people. I go into McDonald's and visit with the girl taking the order. But we need to keep that. We don't need to lose that here. We need to have that.
Lonnie did comment. Here, I'll add it too.
Yeah, pop Lonnie's comment up
It's
there.
up there.
Okay. Yeah, people don't have it. Yeah, it's easier. I agree with that. I know, especially as younger kids, it's so much easier to text. It's so much less committal to do that I think we migrate towards that. And I think, I tell you, we talked on something, not to stay on this too long because we're going to the trivia next, but we talk about this all the time, having Finn down here, because he is around people at a young age and around them. And does he like to talk?
He doesn't ever stop talking.
He doesn't know what he's saying. I mean, I can't understand what he's saying, but he's already talking all the time. Right. And that's a natural thing, to want to talk and to want to interact. So, man, I just think these things are important for us to think about. I know most of us have kids, grandkids. You know, I think if you encourage them to set down those phones, and here's the deal, set your phone down. Because you've got to set yours down for them to talk to you.
Right.
And so a lot of times when we go home, I mean, we've been sitting talking about this a lot. We'll be sitting at the house and we may be 4 or 5 of us having family time at the house, and we may all be looking at our smartphones. Mm-hmm. And it just would be good to put them down sometimes.
I will say, I do think you're starting to see some people get to be more to that point of they don't want necessarily just a self-service. I've seen a lot of people say they get annoyed when they want to check your receipt when you're walking out, and they're like, well, then check us out and make sure we're doing it right. Like, you're relying on us to handle this. Well, then you should allow us to do that as we please. And so there's a grocery store, Kroger, I think is what it's called. They actually are they started something along the lines, I can't remember what it was exactly. They were either taking their self-checkout lines out, or they were going to start adding way more of just like the normal checkout lines. So I do think you're seeing more and more people start to like really.
That's encouraging, Maddie. I like to hear that. Thanks for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Well, that really is encouraging, because I think we need to kind of pull the needle back somewhere in the middle there. I know there's convenience and there's things that you can do, but man, I value that stuff. We got somebody else that just made a comment. Was Lonnie again?
Lonnie, he said, let me add.
Yeah,
I agree.
I agree with that too. I think it did show people that being alone and isolated is not good. The other thing about that, I talk to guys that say what we don't realize is there's a lot of people that haven't ever come out of that isolation. And all of these things that we created that make it possible, make it easy for them to not live in a world with other people. Right. So, you know, we're supposed to care about other people. That's God, I gotta be careful with you guys.
I have not been looking at those questions.
Okay, now's time for the trivia. Everybody always looks forward to this. Because I have the answers.
That's why I'm here. I can't wait.
Okay, so we're going to start out. Question number 14. I don't think either one of y'all will get this. I don't think anybody in the audience will get this. I could be sorely surprised. Mm-hmm. Trivia question. Linda and Bob from Bob's Burgers have 3 kids. Which one of these characters is not one of them? Is it A, Louise, B, Jean, C, Jimmy, or D, Tina? I can tell by the way Carrie's looking at me. She's like,
I need you to reread it.
Okay. Linda and Bob from Bob's Burgers had 3 kids. This is a show, I think, that's on television. Which one of these characters is not one of them? Louise, A, Jean, B, Jimmy, C, or Tina, D?
Have you seen that?
Anybody else?
I know one of them for sure is on there, just because there's a meme of that character that goes around all the time. I'm going to go with Louise.
So you're going to go with A, Louise.
And it's not a character.
It's not a character.
Yeah, I'll stick with that. We'll try
What's his other choices?
B, Jean, C, Jimmy, or D, Tina?
I have no clue, so I'm just going to go with B.
B, Jean. The correct answer was C.
Oh.
Jimmy.
Oh, that was the wrong sound. My bad.
Okay, so question number 15, or number 2. Sorry, I have my old big question list. Okay, question number 2. Maddie will probably have an advantage on this one because this is in her era. The British band One Direction was made of Harry, Louis, Niall, Zan.
Oh my gosh, you're butchering these names.
Okay.
They're European. One, it's not Louis, it's Louis.
Well, it is in
It's
Texas.
Niall,
Okay.
Zane.
Do you want to go ahead and finish?
Go ahead.
Or is the last one Paul, Callum, Kevin, or Liam?
What is it?
You answer first. I know the answer.
Clue.
I will get
Get
the.
that, Paul.
It's Liam.
Anybody else? That is correct. It is Liam. You wasted your childhood listening to One Direction. No, I'm just kidding.
What?
Question number 3. This is kind of an interesting one, and I think y'all might know it. What is the rarest blood type? Is it O? Which is A. That's confusing.
Yeah, this is.
B is A.
Okay, no. Just say the blood types.
Say the answer.
Just say the blood. Yeah, don't.
Okay, but I love the way they did this. They could have made it simple and made BBB and ABA. But anyway, O, A, B, or AB negative.
AB negative.
Maybe negative, I think, too.
Both consensus, AB negative? That is correct.
Yeah.
So, right now, we're moving to question number
I think I
4.
hear AB negative, actually.
Question number 4. Holly Golightly is a character in which film?
Oh, God.
Oh.
Is it A, Breakfast at Tiffany's? B, Pretty in Pink?
Oh my God.
C, Funny Face? D, Singing in the Rain?
Oh, I know used to.
Holly Golightly is a character in which film? What kind of got on the movie train?
I'm just going to go with D. I do not know.
You're going to go with
D.
No, you're gonna, oh, D.
Yeah, I'm just going to go with D.
Singing in the Rain.
I don't know.
I'm going to go Pretty in Pink.
Pretty in Pink. Y'all are not guessing very well. It is Breakfast at Tiffany's.
You're doing too many.
Okay, I'm going to give you, this is one that y'all ought to get.
Oh, gosh. That's
Okay.
stressful to me.
In The Wizard of Oz, the Tin Man wanted to see the wizard about getting what? A brain, B, an oil can, C, a dog, or D, a heart.
D. It's a heart.
Y'all both agree?
Yeah.
Okay, bonus question. Which one of these characters, no, we're not going to do that. That was stupid. Which U.S. state is known as the Sunflower State? Is it A, Florida, B, California, C, Maine, or D, Kansas?
Going D. Kansas.
I think I'm going to go D.
I think you're correct. Okay, so technically...
Lonnie also got it correct.
Oh, sorry.
So.
Okay, so technically, I guess Maddie won this week, but it's because of the softball One Direction question. But
Don't pick questions you think I'm going to know the answer to.
we're going to do 80s trivia next week.
I mean, let's go.
Oh, gosh.
Or 90s trivia.
Yeah.
90s trivia. We're going to do 90s trivia.
At least
next week.
one.
Or late 80s, early 90s trivia. We're going to do that. That's when I was paying attention, sort of.
Ish.
So, yeah. So, anyway, no, guys, we really appreciate y'all joining us this week. We're going to continue to try to bring these interviews like we had this last week. If you've got somebody that you think would be cool to have on the show, we'd love to have your suggestions. We're going to run our outro, we call it, here at the end, where we post that email, but that you can send those emails to comments@gunandsaddle.com. Thank y'all for being here. See us next time on Gun and Saddle.
Thanks for watching Gun and Saddle, a United Country M. Edwards Realty and Auction weekly podcast. Have an idea for a future episode, comments, or suggestions? Email us at comments@gunandsaddle.com. Remember to subscribe or follow us today. Join us again next week for a deeper look at the land we all love and the people that call it home. This is Gun and Saddle.